what's going on? This is the Tyrell N6 by Yuhi. It is an 8-voice virtual analog synth. It's great, it's free. I'm just gonna give you a quick overview of it and then I'll show you what it sounds like. We've got 2 oscillators. Oscillator 1 has 4 different shapes. You've got a sine, a triangle, saw, and then pulse width. Over here, you just have 2. If you take a look down here, this shows a sine wave, right? It's not a sine wave, it is saw. So it goes from saw to pulse width. Here is your tuning option for oscillator 2, fine tuning for oscillator 2, tuning mod for oscillator 1, and tuning mod for oscillator 2. And you can control them with the different sources here. Here's a bunch of different sources. We'll get into that later. The mixer section, we have oscillator 1, oscillator 2, you have a sub-frequency, which I believe is a square, noise, and you can switch between white noise and pink noise here. I don't know why it's all the way over here, but it is. Ring mod, which basically takes one of the oscillators and the other one and multiplies it, and it's the sum of it. Feedback, like an analog synth where you're feeding it back into itself, sort of like an overdrive. Over here, we have the filter section. We have a multi-mode filter, low pass, high pass, and band pass. It is self-resonant, 2-pole, 4-pole, 6-pole. Over here, we have what's called mix spread. It will switch between low pass to high pass. Okay, we have 2 different mod sources for the filter cutoff. We have all these different options here. I'm gonna leave it at ADSR2. And then also your second option, and you can set it to something like the LFO, key follow or key tracking for the filter, so you can play the filter whenever it's self-resonant. Here's our LFO. We have 2 of them and they are identical. We've got a bunch of different shapes, sine, triangle, saw up, saw down, square, high, low, low, high, random, like a sample and hold, and a glide. There's a bunch of knobs here and it can be a little bit confusing, but it's really not. Here's the speed for the LFO. You have a delay option, so it'll slowly ramp up into it. Different sync options, so we've got seconds, longer, 10 seconds, and then here is like our clock divisions all the way up to 8 bars, which is really, really wild. Phase options here. We have a rate mod, which you can select its source here. Say for instance that you wanted to control the rate with a mod wheel, you can select that option here. For the depth, same thing. You've got a source option here. So if you wanted it to be the mod wheel, you could select that. Here's the different trigger modes. Sync, which will sync it to the DAW. A key trig mode. Single, so it'll function sort of like an envelope. And then we have random, so it's just like all over the place. Like I said, both of these are identical. Here is the mod matrix. Cross mod, or like frequency mod kind of thing here. We also have an ability to choose what does the amount of it here. So again, another source. You've got 3 different destinations for this here. You can do frequency mod, you can do pulse width modulation mod, and then filter mod. Mod matrix is really, really simple. 4 different destinations, and then you've got 2 different targets. 1, 2, going to anywhere on here, and you can just double click or right click for all these options, or you can just drag it to whichever destination that you want. The VCA for the amp, and you have a different way to trigger it. You've got gate, you can loop it, LFO1 and LFO2. Same for second envelope, which we'll just keep dedicated for the filter. Down here, we've got velocity control, key tracking, fall and rise. And this changes the stage behavior of these. Basically, it adds like another stage so that what happens at the release stage or something like that, I don't know, like just play around with it or whatever. Up here in this display here, obviously you can see the amount for the things that you're selecting. Here, if you click on presets, you can see all of the presets that are in here, and then your ability to save them. You can also go back and forward through the presets that you have. The volume amount, here is the VCA control, so it can either be gate or through ADSR1 down here. Here are the different mode types for the synth. We've got poly, mono, legato, and duo. Over here is the voices, so we can go up to 8. In poly mode, if you select 2 and you start to mess with this detune here, then you're gonna lose some of your voices, but you'll get a detuned, more fat sound. Also, if you are in any of these other mono modes here or duo mode, when you go to mono, and if you stack 8 voices, then you're just gonna have 8 stacked voices. Again, here is your detune or your unison, right over here. Here, drift mode on and off just makes the synth more vibey and more analog-y and random behavior. So if you want it to sound more vintage and real, turn it on. If you want it to sound more precise, then go ahead and turn it off. Over here we have a transpose. It goes up 2 octaves and then also goes down 2 octaves. Oscillator Mod section here. Vibrato over here, pulse width control here. You have the pitch bend amount over here, can go all the way down 2 octaves and you can go up 2 octaves. You have soft sync, glide. Then we have this glide offset. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea how this works. I read in the manual and it just didn't make sense to me, but I will show you what I found and how I think it's kind of interesting and why I think you should play with it. Here is the source for pulse width. So you can put it to a bunch of different places like the mod wheel or LFO1 or the ADSR. And then lastly, down here, we have chorus and we have 3 different types. We have classic, dramatic, and then we have ensemble. This is the rate and then this is the depth. I don't know. And then here's the dry wet, but just use this for like to make it more intense and then you can kind of dial that in here. To be honest with you, if you're working on a patch and it's just not quite there, you slap the chorus on it and that sort of just like takes it 30% better. It makes it more better, right? So this thing is free and it's been around for forever. I've had it on every single computer that I've ever owned for the last 10 years, but I just didn't really use it that much because I never took the time to learn how it worked. And if I was just working on a track and I threw this up and I couldn't find the sound right away, I just would push it out the way and go to Serum or something like that. I took the time this week. I read the manual so that you don't have to. I watched a bunch of old, long videos to figure out all of the features on here so that you don't have to. And I want to just share a couple of the things that were not immediate to me whenever I first got into it, and now I'll try to demystify it or whatever. The synth is really, really great. It sounds so good and it has no business being free. But I think that the UI is just a little overloaded and there's a lot of things that aren't quite intuitive right away, and it takes you a little bit to wrap your head around that. Let me show you something really quickly. I'm gonna pull up the manuals. Here, this is what I wanted to show you. Take a look at the signal flow. I think that the signal flow sort of exemplifies why the synth isn't so immediate, why it might not be so fun to start working with right away. So you get this free synth and then you're like, I don't know, it's just not like, you're not connecting with it. If you aren't connecting with it, if you had that same experience like I did, this might be the reason, this right here, which also is a positive. Look at this, look at all this different routing. It's actually really, really cool. Let me show you a couple of things that didn't make sense to me right away whenever I first started, and hopefully that's helpful for you. I don't know why, I just didn't notice that the envelope amount was right here, ADSR2, here, here. Here. So if you want to control the cutoff with the envelope, it's here. This mixer section was set up in a way so that it gives you this extra room to overdrive the oscillators. Oscilloscope, as we take this up, it almost turns into a square wave. We'll go to the triangle. Right, same thing. I said this in the beginning, but this is important. Here's our sine wave. Now, you would think that this shape right here is also a sine wave, but it's not. It is a triangle. Oscillator 2, turned up. Regardless, this is still super cool. Take a look. So we've got like wave shape control. You can modify that sort of like maybe like a Minilog, which is really, really cool. I wanted to be able to find a way to make the pitch of Oscillator 1 and Oscillator 2 wavy, right? Okay, well, vibrato, right? Moving this up, I'm not getting anything. Take a look down here, the mod wheel here is set to this. If we take this down to 0, that might be something that you'd want to know. Let me show you one of my other favorite sounds to make with this, and then I'll show you some of the other stuff that I've made. A saw wave here. I'm going to turn the depth mod down so that the mod wheel is not controlling this LFO. And I just want this really slow, so I'm going to bring the rate down. Actually, let's do this here. We'll do... It's subtle. Just a little bit of release here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of resonance, envelope amount. I'm going here. Remember, this is not a sine wave. This is a saw wave. And I'm gonna detune this a fifth. We'll add a little bit of chorus, and I'm gonna pull the wet down just a little bit. Add RETUR. This is from Fours, it's free. If you have Ableton, go download this. I'll put a link for it in my description now. Let me show you a couple of things that I've made with this so you get an opportunity to hear what it sounds like. Everything besides the drums is N6, so just take a listen, see what you think. Okay, this thing sounds great. It's free. I know you've probably heard about it before. I'm encouraging you to download it. I'll put a link in the description below. Also, I have my own music in the description down below. So if you have an opportunity to listen to it, I'd be grateful for that. And have a good week. I'll talk to you later.